and welcome. You're watching Vision Plus, and I'm Bonnie Libhart, and just in a moment you're going to meet someone that I wish I had met a few years ago. But let me tell you what happened. As some of you may know, I grew up on a cotton farm, chopping cotton, picking cotton in the great state of Arkansas, and we didn't have a lot of ways to continue our education. And I did a lot of things shouldn't have done, like run away from home, got married at age 16. So after I got married, then I had to get an education. I wanted to, so I did go back to school and went into the classroom and got a high school education. And a little bit later, after 3 children were born, I went back to school and I got a degree, got first degree in broadcast journalism, and went on 30 hours in management. But one of the things I did in all of those things was I kept going to these courses that they would offer in the community. I didn't ever think about whoever started those courses, how I'd like to hug their neck, but it was one thing that gave me the guts to go forward and to actually go back to school for full time and get the degree. And then later I taught school. Well, the person that's with me today, Carol Tull, is one of those wonderful people that made that kind of thing happen. And what she's doing today as a community education specialist is something that you may be able to help us with, help her with, help the community with, either by teaching or being a part of it coming. And welcome to Channel 58 Victor Network, Carol.
Thank you.
How in the world did you get involved with community education, and start that off by telling us exactly what community education is?
Okay. Well, everybody knows what community is.
That's right.
Everybody knows that word.
We all do.
Right. Everybody knows what education is.
Yes.
But when you put community and education together, something magic happens, something special happens. When community education happens, and it can happen through a school or a church or any other agency, it just happens that ours happens through the Huntsville City Schools. That's who employs me. It is a way for people and community itself, individuals and the community itself, to assess their needs, their problems, their wants, their desires, and to prioritize and decide which is a problem and which is a want and which is a real need, and then to work together to meet all those needs.
Situations, challenges, and opportunities, like what might happen out in NASA, Marshall, or any other company that would cut back on its employment. I never will forget one time my husband, the company he worked with, went from 90 employees back to 60. So one of the things he did during that period of time was take a few courses so he could learn computers and get up on things that were happening now. I know you started teaching a long time ago.
Yes.
In fact, you had one little really interesting time that you taught in Germany.
Yes.
When you and your husband were over there and he was in the service.
That's right. I'm a K through 12 teacher. In fact, I was a senior high school teacher. I taught English.
Never going to let her read my book. English teacher. So was my mother, so I should.
That's right. So I do come through the K-12 program, and I did teach in a very unusual situation. I taught in a maximum security prison in Germany, and this was a prison for all men. I was one of 3 women among 500 men. Very young, thank goodness I was young, or I wouldn't have done that.
You wouldn't do it today.
That's right, and it was a very rewarding job in that I did see people who had no hope get a glimmer of hope. And I'm not saying we reached every man that we worked with, but if we reached 1 or 2 or even 3, it was worth every ounce of effort that we put into it, and it was a blessing to do that, to work in a prison, really maximum security. I'm talking about rapists, murderers, the real, when you think of the worst felons in the world, those were what we had, and it was exciting. So maybe if they had had community education in their childhood, they wouldn't have ended up where they were.
Well, what did Lyndon Johnson say, among other things, was that there were 100,000 young men?
Well, actually, they were called Johnson's 100,000, and they were men who had not had high school educations, and they came into the service. They were pulled into the service, and of course, this was back during Vietnam, and men were greatly needed at that time. And I had the privilege of working with some of those. They were the ones in my class in the prison
I just love
who
what's
didn't have a
happening
high
in
school
education. Not only that we can get back into the workforce through some training through community education and all the other things that we're going to find out a little bit about your shirt, but one of the things that's happening is this open university or school without walls. And back in Johnson's day, he even said, tomorrow's school will be a school without walls, a school built by doors which open to the entire community. Tomorrow's school will reach out to places that enrich the human spirit. Tomorrow's school will be the center of community life for grown-ups as well as children, a shopping center for human services. Isn't that exciting?
A shopping center for human services.
You know what? You can even get college credit for writing a book. I know there are people who would like to write a book and have always felt like, oh, I wish I had some college, and they will actually give you college credit in some of these open universities.
Right, in some of the universities.
Now, tell me some of the things that you have, and also I understand that there is, this actually saves taxpayers money.
Right,
How in the world does it do that?
Well, let me just back up. I'm glad you used the School Without Walls quote, because that was one that my boss, Ike Rooks, and I'm proud, happy Boss's Day, boss. I'm glad you used that quote because that's one of his favorites and one that he used in our annual report this year. And the School Without Walls is one of the things that we try to be. And because we bring ourselves to the school system, it becomes a school without walls, and it does, in many ways, save taxpayers money. And I will tell you some of those ways. First of all, we have this beautiful, wonderful, and I wish everybody would come and see our beautiful school at Challenger Middle School in South Huntsville. That's where I work, and I'm really proud of it. That building cost $11 million. And because of our very wise administration in this school system, we are able...
Does she get a raise after all that?
I need one, don't I? Not really. I do it for fun, I think. Because we have this wise administration to put community education there, we are now using that building not 6 hours a day for this limited clientele, 6 years old to 18 years old, but we're using it all day long. We can use it 12 or 18 hours a day if we need to. We can use it on weekends if we need to. We can open it up to...
this list of school classes that we were going through, you better use it 18 and 20 hours a day, 8 days a week.
That's right, and we can use it for people who are not just the school-age people. We can use it from toddlers to the 80-year-old.
Yeah, we always think of community education as someone, oh, I need to go back and brush up on my typing skills so I can get a job.
That's right.
But that's just one tiny little phase of it.
Tiny. And did you realize that 73% of the adults in Alabama do not have children in school? Why should they support the schools? It's not for them, or is it? Whose schools are they? Do they belong to the teacher? No, not really. Do they belong to the principal? Well, certainly not. Do they belong to the school children? Well, in many ways it seems they do. Well, do they belong to the custodian? Well, not really. He just cleans the building and seems to be the most popular fellow at the school. If you ever want to know what was going on in school, go ask the custodian. They will know. But it belongs to the taxpayers. And so because we have this... In fact, it's the most valuable things that the taxpayers really own, and that's why we want to use it. We want to open it up for birth through death. We want to open it up winter and summer. We want to open it up day and night and get the fullest use we can. And you ask how it saves the taxpayer money. Along with opening up the building, this expensive building for fuller use, we also try to bring in volunteers. We try to break down those barriers between the school and other agencies, between the school and community members, and say, now, community, let's talk. What do we really want? Where do we want to go? How do we want to grow? What are our needs? And therefore, every community school program is different. Mine is different from the one across the town at Davis Hills and the other one across town at West Lawn, because I'm meeting South Huntsville's needs. And I'm talking to South Huntsville. I'm writing notes to teachers and saying, teachers, What do we need? What can we do to make our community a better place? What can we do to make individuals in this community a better place? I'm calling in my students in the middle school even and saying, now talk to me. I want to have an advisory group of you. Tell me what needs can we meet that you can think of. It is your school too. You own this. It is part, you know, it's something that you own. And parents, the PTA boards of all my schools are working with me to help assess needs. And of course, that's one of the things that community education does, is to assess the needs of the community. And that doesn't mean necessarily that we have a big survey sheet and we mail that out to the community and say, what do you want to do at your school? They wouldn't answer it. They would throw it in the trash. So we have to work a little bit harder to find out what the needs are. We have to talk to people. When they come to a class, we have to go and say, well, how did you like that? Did it meet your needs?
What other classes would you like?
A person from the Arsenal called me the other day and said, you know, I'm so concerned. We are all worried about losing our jobs because we know that they're going to have a big reduction in forces. And is there anything we can do? And I said, oh, I know just the trick. One of the teachers called in the other day. She wants to teach speed writing, and speed writing is something you can learn in 6 sessions well enough to be proficient and pass the government test. So we offer speed writing at a very low price, and maybe some of the secretaries or workers on the Arsenal will come and take that and feel a little more secure in their job.
I noticed they also have basic camera techniques. So
yes.
There's so, you know, video is growing by leaps and well, it's growing a lot anyway, leaps and bounds. I went in December or January sometime with the Society of Professional Videographers, and somebody has to know how to do those things, and there's not enough. UAH is really not doing that particular thing, and not a lot of high schools don't do that.
And even if they were, they're way across town, and this is in our community. We don't have to go anywhere. Many people can walk right over to the school. There's a senior citizen, a dear one, and I won't say her name, and she'll probably know who she is. And I bet she has signed up for 8 different courses this time. She comes to play bridge, and she comes to aerobics, and she comes to, she came to a flower arranging course, and I'm so happy that this dear, dear person comes and is a part of life and a part of community and enjoys herself.
I see a lot of these courses only cost $5. I mean, hey, you can't even go out to eat for that.
Some of the courses don't cost anything. Last year, in Huntsville City, there were almost 5,000 people who took fee courses, courses that you have to pay a small fee for. And there were almost 3,000 people who took courses that were not feed at all. So about 8,000 more people used the schools than would have used it if they hadn't been there.
And they were also, this is part of it, which I didn't realize, when we had the tornado.
Yes, our Community Education Extended Day, we are so proud of it. Right now, I have 500 students in my South schools. I have Whitesburg and Mountain Gap and Weatherly and Farley and Chaffee. Chaffee is a new school this year for Extended Day, and Challenger, of course. And we have from 2:30 in the afternoon until 5:45 in the evening. Teachers meet those children when they get out of school with a snack and fun things to do. They play outside and play in the gym and do arts and crafts, and they don't have to be bussed away. It's a very safe and happy, it's their own environment. But it's not school. It's not like the school day. This is different,
but
even though it's called
Extended Day. They were kept safe during
Yes, they were. Those were the Extended Day teachers, and we were at Jones Valley that took those children where to go. And I guess that's a good example of how they are keeping our children safe.
Parents as tutors, minimizing the homework hassle, the doable dozen. Why are these written, and how would one use them?
Okay, well, one of the things that we like to think about when we open up the school's walls is how we can keep duplication of services out of the way. So if we see something that somebody else is doing, they can come in with us. And one of those things is inviting parents or businesses even, or grandparents, anybody who wants to come and have a part in what we're doing. You know, you hear about adopt-a-school programs all the time, and so-and-so business gave X amount of dollars to the school, but there's so many more things that they can give that are, well, I mean, money is always important in schools, but people how much more important?
They changed
than money?
computers and no longer use those boxes of computer paper.
That's
You'll
right.
take them.
We'll take their computer paper, or we'll take any service that they want to donate. If they want to help us prepare some materials, if they want to let some of their employees be free to come and tutor or to present.
They let you know. How do they let you know?
Well, sometime during this program, I hope that you will give me a chance to share my office phone number and
okay,
tell
go right ahead.
who we are.
Now.
This is a good time. Okay. I am at Challenger Community School, and we are located in the Challenger Middle School. And our phone number at the office is 532-3063. And
repeat that.
I'll repeat it again. It's 532-3063. And as you can see, I'm not at the school today. My answering machine is probably on, and if it's not on, we have a part-time secretary. We are not there. If we're not there, our answering machine will answer, and if the secretary's there, she'll answer. But we always return our calls. So please, if you get the machine, don't hesitate to leave a message and say who you are and how we can help you, or how you can help us, because we are there to do both.
So in addition to things like my son had gone back and gotten his GED, and through getting his high school education, because he had needed to do that, we had moved from one state to another at that time, and so he just lacked a few courses. So now he's a plant manager by getting, it's just an incredible story of how that training like what we have in community education has helped. Who are some of the people that you could think of?
Oh, I could just tell you so many stories about this. I'll tell you, well, here's the GED, of course, is one, because we always hear people who get that GED and it just is a springboard for the rest of their lives. And sometimes the courses that you wouldn't even think would be, quote, educational, turn out to be a career for somebody. I'll tell you two different people that happened to. One lady took the cake decorating course, and she began to make things for her friends and her neighbors, and pretty soon it began to grow, and pretty soon she had a little business. And there, out of one community ed course, another lady that I know here in Huntsville, and it's funny because I knew her in Birmingham, and then she moved here after we moved here, made beautiful hair bows, and you have a wonderful one in your hair today.
$15.
Well, aren't they expensive?
But I bought it so I can learn how to do that. Right. I need to go to her class. I didn't know
she's going to teach this coming time. In fact, she'll be teaching probably when this airs. And I knew her, and she had taken a couple of community education courses, and she met a friend when they moved to Atlanta. And the friend said, well, let's take all these to the mart and just see what happens. Well, they took them to the mart and had so many orders coming in that almost instantly this business, and the business is called Rainbows. They have a business where they make bows and sweatshirts. And
well,
so
you have on a sweatshirt.
Yes,
Tell us about that one.
This is a Christmas sweatshirt that one of our teachers, Teresa Salgi, is going to do, and she may do this one, or and another one too. We have so many fun Christmas crafts this time.
Okay, here comes. Oh no,
I'm
get ready. You think I just gained weight, didn't you? But wait till you see what all I have underneath that she brought for me, and this is ta-da! They did.
Right.
Let me show you this, and this one is fun, fun, fun.
Let me help you.
Okay, this is just one of the things that they're teaching different. Uh-oh, I just realized
there's
my microphone, so I'm going to have to pin it back over here too. But this is a fun microphone, but I don't know if it'll pick up what I want to do. This is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now, I don't know, Mr. Microphone, if you can hear this or not, but we're going to see.
His nose lights up and he sings. But this is another class that's going to be offered. There are so many funny and fun courses. This is going to be taught by Melissa Roth. Teresa Salgi is the one that's going to teach this one. But they are lots of fun.
And they do them for different seasons.
Right.
And some
this one is something
fun.
you can do in one night. This is not something you have to go every Tuesday. So a lot of classes are one-night and two-night courses that you could just take for the fun of it.
And someone at Toastmasters asked me to do one, and I said, well, I'll do it. And it's about how to feel comfortable public speaking. I have a real thing about that, because when I was 14 years old, I ran for state song leader in the 4-H club, and I was up on this little platform, like stage, and I forgot my name, what the name of the song was, where I was, why I was there, and I ran off that stage crying, and I said, I can't do it. And so my main leader in 4-H Club said, oh, yes, you can. You get right back up there. And so I got through that horrible experience, but I vowed, Father, in the name of Jesus, if you will let me feel comfortable and not shake so much standing in front of a group, I will do that. And so I've learned not only to do it, but I love it now. It's just like somebody in school that you finally get them to play in a play, and you find out they're the biggest hams that you have. You couldn't get them to be in the play, and then they decided to.
I hope everybody takes your course, because you are
it's going to be fun. We're going to have a wild and crazy time, and we're going to have everybody
feel comfortable. And this is not my normal habitat, see. So you are really good at it.
Hey, I knew that you were a teacher before, and I got to hear that one little story about when you were teaching and you first found out they were going to have community education.
Oh, I shouldn't even tell this, but since you've asked, I'll have to. I was a K-12 teacher. I was a classroom teacher, and sometimes the biggest job we have is to convince the classroom teachers, the K-12 teachers and the office staff, that we're important too, and we're a part of them, and that we can help them. Now, I don't have that problem very much at Challenger, because we have a great group of people to work with, but teachers sometimes have a little bit of possessiveness.
When you first heard
and I'm talking about me. When I heard about community education, I had gotten a fellowship, and I thought, sure, I'll take your money to go to school. I love to go to school. And then I found out I had to learn to be a community education coordinator. And I said, what is community education? And they said, oh, well, that's just a wonderful process that people come through, and they own their schools, and they come in the evenings. And I said, in the evenings? Not in my school. When I leave my classroom, I wipe my board down very carefully. And I put my chalk where I want it, so that we walk in at 8 o'clock in the morning and everything is perfect, because I want my children to be perfect. Well, it took Dr. Boyd Rogan at University of Alabama in Birmingham about 6 months to cure me of that, and to convince me, and once he did, it is addictive. It is the most wonderful thing, and I cannot imagine ever not having community schools after once experiencing the value of opening up the schools to the community, and the community to the school, and seeing the vandalism decrease, seeing the schools opened night and day, seeing volunteers come in, seeing people enrich themselves and therefore enrich the community, and sometimes not even enrich themselves, enrich the community because they are there. When people can see their needs, see their problems, work on a plan to meet them, and then try to meet the plan in a really reasonable and practical way, we are just, you know, it's so impressive that sometimes I stand back and say, oh, I'm so glad to be a part of this.
You were telling that you liked everything. You're a board erased, and you're
I was
chalk in a certain place. Well, you know, that's a certain personality. We were talking about the personality traits that a lot of people, when they're born and they grow up and they like everything very orderly, and there's other people that are in the room, they're like Tony. So I mean, he knows where the first nickel I guess he ever had, and his socks are orderly in the drawer, and he married this tossed salad lifestyle person. But you know, you can take courses that will teach you about the different kinds of whether you have an otter personality that's just enjoys life, you know, and then, or you're a person who's more like a golden retriever, and or you know, we can talk about dominant, influencer, and competent, and the different personalities that we have, the type A personality. Well, you can learn those at a class
that's
like
right.
that you're
In
going
fact,
to.
that's a class that you could probably teach. I wish you would.
That'd be a fun class to do. But more than that, it helps you to understand other people you're working with.
Right.
If you have a people problem, it could be that you could learn something.
That's right.
I'll never forget when Emily went back to school that I was almost sad, because as I looked over her curriculum, I thought, oh, I want to do that. And I'd already taken the course and passed it, but it was so much fun to go to school. I want to go back to school there. But now we can.
Well,
we can.
When you, that's right. When you were saying that, it reminded me that I would love to find a teacher who could teach a course called How Not to Be Shy. A course for teenage girls, how to grow up gracefully. We have a lovely teacher, Carol Johnson is her name, and she teaches a course in manners for young girls, and these are 5th, 6th, 7th grade. It's a darling course.
Oh, you were looking for somebody to teach tatting, too.
Right. Oh, if I
let's
could
go
find
through
a
these real
tatting
quickly.
teacher, I would be so
And
happy.
chisholm bop, I never heard of that. Now, what is it?
Well, chisholm bop is an Oriental math game almost. It's a way of figuring math on your fingers. I can't do it.
I want to take that course.
I do too. I know it's taught in Birmingham, and I have a sister-in-law who teaches it in Georgia. And you see children sit down and add 5,472 and 3,677 and 7,888 and come up with the right answer in an instant. And they're all the time doing their little fingers like this. I don't know how they do it, but if there's a chisholm bop teacher anywhere listening to us, please call me and help us teach that course.
Retirement planning and saving for college, archery, wood burning, art of verbal self-defense, love that one. Cooking, breads, candies, Chinese, Mexican, party foods with the holidays coming up,
Right.
stained glass, rag baskets, rag rugs, preparing for ACT, how to balance your checkbook. Why in the world don't they teach that in school?
You know,
I'm
I
telling
wish
you,
they
I
did.
don't
It helps
understand.
us all.
Now they are. They're going to be teaching it in community education. But you know, anybody can take, you don't have to be graduated to take that. Because I'm taking a DOS, which is a PC course in Gunnersville at one of the schools over there. Didn't know you taught it right here in Huntsville. But anyway, and there's 11-year-olds in there, and there's, I won't say, over the old people in there too. Financial consensus and special need for the elderly. I can't even say it. I don't know. I'm going to soon have to do it.
Sometimes our seniors are forgotten people, and the schools are there for them just as much as they are for any other person in the community, and that's a wonderful resource that they can use. But more than that, they can be such resources. I wish that I could find somebody to teach every one of those almost lost arts. When I was a little girl and when you were a little girl, I bet that you went home and your mother and your Aunt Sally and your grandmother sat down and taught you. You made a doll quilt. You'd crocheted. You did a cross-stitch sampler. Remember when we embroidered our dish towels and ironed them? Remember that?
Can you believe
Oh,
that?
I can't believe we ironed dish towels. But we did all these things that are in tatting. We learned to do the things that are becoming lost arts. Tatting for me is a lost art because I didn't learn it well enough as a child to remember. So now, if you're a tatting teacher out there, or if you're an embroidery teacher, or if you can teach cross-stitch, or if you can churn butter, I mean, these things that our children are forgetting. There are 500 children right now.
Homogenized milk. That may
I
be
don't
a
know.
challenge.
We'll have to find a cow, I guess. But we have 500 children who every day do not go home to grandmother. They are in a very safe and loving and wonderful environment, but they
we
don't
may move
have
it
that.
from some additional classes. That'd be a good idea to have them after school for the latch
What would be
kids.
latchkey children.
Yes.
And we could use them as volunteers, or sometimes we can actually put a course together.
$3 or $5. I mean, biggies, they can go,
Right.
at least gasoline to go
Right,
over.
so-
Carol Tull, you got me so excited. I want to
Well,
go to
it's
all
hard
these
not to
classes.
get
I don't know. We were going to tell some of these: applique by machine, baby hair bands, sweatshirt panning, of course, computers and the regular. Early tax planning, fix-it-yourself plumbing.
Well, this is where a business has come in partnership with us, and this is, I shouldn't say the business name probably.
Well, sure you should. Basic
okay,
camera techniques. Go ahead and say the business
it's
name.
McDaniel Plumbing, and the way I found them, now this is true community ed. Our hot water heater died, and these wonderful plumbers came out on a Saturday and fixed my hot water heater, and 2 weeks later they came back and fixed everything else in my house.
All right.
And they were really great
people. We'll learn how to do that so we don't have to call them on Saturday.
And of course I wrote
Carol
them the big
Tull,
check.
community education specialist, and I want you to hear something incredible about her, but I have to wait till the next time. I'm Bonnie Libhart. You're watching Vision Plus. Bless your heart for watching.
Thank you.
Praise, give him praise. Unto his presence with thanksgiving in your heart and voices raised.